Are you ready? Let's go!
Don't you sometimes just want to talk about everything? You know, there's days when you can just talk about anything. Need to sit back and chat about nothing at all? Nothing But Julie, coming at you with fun and creative topics and interviews.
Did you hear Julie's podcast? She's got the greatest topics.
Come join the chat about everything, anything, and nothing. So unwind and tune in to Nothing But Julie. Great topics and cool interviews with some pretty awesome people. And now, without further delay, here's Nothing But Julie.
Hi, everybody. It's Julie Schrager with Nothing But Julie. And I have to say, last time I introduced Rhonda Marie as my co-host. And I have to tell you, I don't consider her my co-host. I just consider her another wonderful part of our podcast. So hi, Rhonda. How you doing?
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. Yours?
It was pretty good. You know, a lot of good news for some people, a lot of bad news for some people, you know, but it is what it is. And we're taking a giant leap and hopefully everybody will come together, you know?
That's my hope as well.
Yeah. Everybody has to reunite and just kind of just deal with the change and let's just move on. You know, I wanted to tell you, and I don't want to talk about politics, but right before you and I started the podcast, I saw something on a news station that said that Pfizer is getting much closer to a vaccine. And apparently it's like a two-part vaccine and that Biden said that it will be free to everybody.
I have heard that as well. I actually, obviously my boyfriend's a veteran and he got something from the VA asking if he would like to be like an early recipient. Kind of like in the more in the trial phase before it's released to the general public.
Oh.
And so that's something that we've been discussing.
Wow. So would he consider it?
You know, we had to get his when he started to go to University of Arizona here, they require your vaccination record. And so when we got that from the VA, it's like 4 pages long.
Wow.
All the vaccines that he was given because of all of the different countries that he's gone to.
Sure.
So he said that, you know, he feels like he's already been given all these vaccines. So why not?
Well, I mean, why not? You know, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to do it. I don't know. If I was given that opportunity, I'd really have to think about it.
That's what I said. I was like, well, you know, ultimately, like it's his decision. You know, I said, just ask a lot of questions. Like,
will I die?
You know, I don't even know how they, I don't know how they test vaccines. Like,
I know.
Do they vaccinate you against something and then purposely expose you to see if it works? Like, I don't, you know, and then if it doesn't work, now you have this.
I think you're right, though.
You know,
I think that I think they must. I don't, you know, I have to be honest. I have never looked into that. They must. It's kind of like when you get the flu shot, it's a live bacteria or it's just the I don't even know, but I just know it's live. And I remember I got the flu shot several years ago because I was working in the school, and it actually, I felt like I had the flu, and I was like, what was the point in getting this shot, you know? But some people get sick, some people don't. But I don't know. I would think that the only way to find out if he's immune to
is to expose you. And so I said, well, that's kind of like, that's a risk, you know, either way, because then, you know, we would all have to quarantine separately. And, you know, what would that look like for the little one who's only 9? And I was like, I don't know how they test vaccines, though. I'm not in the medical field. So, I mean, someone more knowledgeable than me would have to advise on that.
I wonder if they do give a separate shot of, you know, vaccine of COVID or whatever. I don't know how they even have COVID in a shot to give to someone. I'm sure the scientists have figured all that out. I'm not one. So it's hard for me to even think about it, but I'm sure once we read it, we'll say, oh, Oh,
oh, that
okay.
makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like once we read it, then we'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, but, and then of course it's the VA and they are, they're always understaffed and a little,
Mm,
they make mistakes frequently because they're very overworked there. And
I
so
know.
we always joke about that, but it really is a serious issue over there. So
It
we
is, and
kind of,
it's really it's very upsetting because it's like the wrong places are getting the help. And I think that the VA is so much more deserving of help than so many other places. And I just think that, like my dad, he's a veteran and he gets his hearing aids from the VA. And
Mhm.
he has dementia, and so there's been a few times where he's lost his hearing aids, and it takes a long time to get another set or another one from the VA, like a long time. And it's
Right. And so like during this time, you're just like, what's the, like, this person needs this, and you're taking a very long time to do it.
it's like you said, it's because they're understaffed, and
They are.
and the funding also, it's a mess and it's a shame. And I'm hoping that will undergo a change, especially, I mean, we need to take care of our veterans, period. That's it,
Yeah. No.
you
Yeah,
know.
I agree. I agree.
All right, so today, Rhonda and I decided that we were going to do something silly and fun, and we are going to be doing weird headlines from all over the world, or weird stories from all over the world. And we both took some time this week to do some research. It would be funny if we wind up having the same ones.
Oh, I know. I know. And I was worried about that because I was like, okay, should I, I ended up with four that I really wanted to talk about. And I was like, what if we pick the same ones?
It's a
And I was like,
possibility.
I was like, well, that would be just interesting then that we found the same thing.
Yeah. Well, why don't
Interesting.
do you want to start?
Sure. So I found one, and it was in England, where then the headline says, cops, don't drive if you're blind. And so I was going to not read the article, but it actually is the police warning people that if they are blind, they should not drive.
Oh
And
boy.
and so I had to, because so I was like, okay, well, what happened that this became a headline? So someone actually was driving that was completely blind and could not see, and someone else was in the car with them telling them where to go. And they, of course, got pulled over and wrecked many things. And so now, and that person that was driving was a person kind of in power,
Mm.
like in government, and didn't want to give up their driving.
Oh my God.
And so that was the warning: just don't drive if you're blind. And I just thought it was so funny because, like, who would think? Like, I wear glasses and contacts, and my eyes are really bad. And if I don't have my glasses or contacts in, I can barely see like 2 feet in front of my face. So I would never try to drive like that. But I just thought that would be the equivalent of me trying to drive without my glasses.
I cannot. That is, well, I mean, that's a weird headline. That's very bizarre to me.
Right.
I can't even imagine. It makes me laugh.
And then yeah, it did. It made me laugh, and that's why I was like, well, I have to bring that
That's
up because it
great.
reminds me of like the warnings on like your hair dryer where it says not to use it in the shower.
And you know
And
why
I'm just like,
you know why they do things like that? Kind of like if you're going to take a certain medication and there's like 2 pages of symptoms, it's because anytime one person has one symptom, they have to add it and list it. And there are some people that are not the smartest in this world. And I think that putting labels like do not use in shower or near water has to be done. I mean,
yeah, it has to be done because it has to protect the company, because then somebody will come and sue them and say, well, you didn't tell me not to do that.
Do you remember, I don't think it was last year, maybe the year before, in Florida, unfortunately, a young child was killed by an alligator, that it was in Disney by one of the lakes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I do remember. They were at one of the resorts,
Yes,
right?
one of the resorts
Yes.
in Disney, and one of the lakes. And unfortunately, the poor baby just,
Right.
was
It was a young baby.
a baby, just
Like
like a
baby, like a toddler.
like a toddler, pulled into the lake and killed.
Yes.
And I believe that the parents sued because there was no sign.
No, yes.
Now, as much as I agree with that as well, I do.
Right. They should put up a sign.
Yes, but they were showing the area, and they were showing that there were signs, but just not in that one spot. Like maybe let's say 10 yards to the left or 10 yards to the right. Okay. So this Disney was kind of fighting it because they're like, well, we do have signs. But that just goes to prove that now I live in Florida, and I know you did as well.
Yes,
I would never ever go into a lake in Florida. But
right. So
it doesn't
even
mean,
when
yeah.
even when I moved, like I moved to Oklahoma, and there are alligators in like the southeast corner of Oklahoma, like down by the Arkansas border
Mm-hmm.
in those lakes. But for the most part, Oklahoma gets too cold for alligators.
Oh.
But I still could not swim in lakes. Just because of growing up in Florida, because I was always taught if it's fresh or brackish water, there's going to be alligators in it. So keep your dogs out of there and don't go in there.
Well, you know what? I don't know if it was lack of common sense or they just didn't think. I don't know if I would need to live in Florida to know that there are alligators. I would not be letting my toddler alone near a lake without my supervision. And so let's take like the alligator, let's put the alligator to the side for a minute. I would still never allow my baby to be in a lake. And you know what it's like. You turn your head for a second. And although, yeah, your stepdaughters, you said 9, even at 9, you turn your head for a second, something can happen. So I don't want to judge anyone in this circumstance, but it just makes me think about the headline you were talking about, that you do, for some people, need to have not only these signs so nothing happens to them, but to save the company's ass for lawsuits.
Right, because we do live in a very litigious society. Everybody is, oh, well, you could sue them and make so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And, and whether you're in the right or in the wrong, it's just sue them and see what happens.
Oh, absolutely. Here in Florida, every other commercial is a lawyer commercial. Have you fallen? Are you taking this medication?
Oh my God, the medication ones.
The medication ones. I
drive me insane.
And it hasn't changed since I was a kid. I would come to Florida to visit my grandparents, and I remember seeing commercial after commercial. Have you fallen and can't get up? I mean, just for lawyers, and it's still the same here. I even know like the jingles. Steiger is going green.
We joke all the time that if we were to lose our phones or get in an accident or something, we would have to have them call the local attorneys that are always on TV here, because that's the number we know. And we would have to just, you're going to call. True. Yeah.
It's like whichever lawyer commercial has the best jingle you remember, and that's the one that you call.
And that's who I would have to call, like in a case of an emergency. If they would be like, that is a local attorney's office. And I'd be like, that's the only number I know.
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell you, it was such sad news, and I don't know what happened with the lawsuit, but no money can bring back the child. So it was just a horrible thing. But okay, so this is not really like a weird headline, but the story is. So the headline is Time Capsule from North Pole washes up in Ireland 2 years later. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is pretty cool.
So apparently there were like 2 surfers that were on the tip of Ireland, and they discovered this time capsule. It had washed up on shore. And I'm not going to, I guess, name the names of the people that found it, but one of the people said that he thought that it was a steel pipe from a ship, and that he lifted it up and there was engraving on it. And and he saw the date on it and then thought, oh, maybe it's somebody's ashes. So he didn't open it. Yeah. And so someone did wind up opening it, and they discovered that there were messages in Russian and English from the crew and passengers of 50 Years of Victory, which was a nuclear powered Russian icebreaker ship that apparently tossed this time capsule into the ice at the North Pole in 2018.
That's very cool.
It's kind of cool. And apparently it had photographs and beer mats and menu, wine corks, all these other things. And so apparently they were able to contact the author. I guess there was a number. Oh no, I'm sorry. Social media. They were able to contact the author on social media. And apparently they didn't expect for it to be found for 30, 40 years, but they wound up finding it in 2 years. But I thought that was just kind of not so much weird, but just kind of cool.
That is just a cool, yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah. I always think about those time capsules, like we buried one in 5th grade. And I just wonder, like, did anybody ever dig that up?
Yeah, we did the same thing. Like, I don't remember what grade, but yeah, it was definitely elementary school.
Right. And so I just wonder, like, did anybody dig that up? What happened to it? Is that's just going to be, in the far future, archaeologists are going to dig that up, and that's how they're going to determine what our life was like.
Do you remember what you put in it?
I don't remember what we put in it.
Me either.
I didn't think much about it at the time. You're in 5th grade. You're just like, oh, we're going to put some stuff in this and bury it. And then you're going to look at it later. You don't think about that stuff.
No. But you know what makes the story really interesting and sad is the fact that they found this time capsule in 2 years means that the ice is melting rapidly.
That's what I was just going to say. That means that
they say 2,500 miles of ice has melted in 2 years. 2,500 miles for this thing. I mean, if it was tossed in the North Pole, how far could it really go? Right. But if it went 2,500 miles, that's a lot of melted ice.
That is a lot of melted ice.
And it's so sad.
That's scary. It's a little scary about, because obviously, like, what happens if that continues to melt?
A lot of things die, including polar bears and other animals.
Well, isn't that like they've talked about the migration of some of those animals and how it's not at a normal pattern, their migratory habits are being changed.
I don't know. But there was Attenborough just narrated maybe his last, I think it's on Discovery Channel, and I think this one's called Planet Earth. And it talks about all of the areas of the earth that are seeing its demise and animals as well. And I haven't had the stomach yet to watch it, but a lot of people have commented on how much they cried throughout it. And I know, but if you have a chance to watch it or can watch it, he really goes in depth about all of the animals and places on Earth that are just changing for the worst. So I know, I know about it, but
prepare myself to watch.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I don't even know if I'll ever be prepared to watch it. I don't know if I could stomach it.
I don't know either. I don't know if I could.
All right. What do you have next?
Okay. So, this one, and to me, this one, I just wanted to talk about this one because I remember when it happened, and it's a more recent one, but I remember people were losing their minds about it. When IHOP was going to rebrand to change the P to a B.
Right.
So when I kept looking at this one just kept coming up, and I was like, I remember that. And I remember how people were just losing their minds over it as if it was something very important. And then they just went right back to IHOP anyway, because it was just, like a promotion to get interest or, to get people's attention. And so then I started thinking about how often our headlines made up or kind of twisted, like clickbait, so that you pay attention to this headline and you get all wrapped up in it. And then it's not even really important anyway.
Yeah.
So that was just got me thinking about that, because I was like, International House of Burgers. I don't know.
No, it was definitely clickbait. There is
It
no
was.
way, and they probably wound up doing so much more business during that time.
I know. And it's, I mean, it's something that got me thinking about, like, I guess maybe ethics in journalism, because that was presented as like, a news story, but really it
Yeah.
was just a promotion for IHOP. It was advertising for them. So I was
Yeah.
like, how much of our headlines are just advertising for
Well, do you remember
companies or people?
Coke and then Coke Zero or Coke One, where they were changing the ingredients in one of the Cokes, and they thought that it was going to be better than the other one, and people like protested Coke and they weren't drinking it anymore. So then they decided, that they were going to go back to the old one. That is exactly what they were talking about, that it was clickbait, and they deliberately, said they were going to do it, but they did. That's the thing. They did it, but I have a feeling that they only rolled out X amount and knew that they weren't going to produce it, but they did it to try and get like this whole hype, but it went against them because they wound up
People didn't
losing.
like it.
Right. And they wound up losing money. But the thing of it is I think that they still had the old Coke. I can't recall, but I just remember that it was all about trying to make more money, and it just backfired for them.
Oh, yeah, because like we talked about, earlier when we were just on the phone, how you can't make everyone happy.
Yes.
And so, Coke
you
found
go.
that out very quickly.
There you go. So funny. All right. So mine next is, I'm just going to shout out a few headlines because the other ones that I have are more kind of affiliated with stories, but these are just a few really silly ones that I just had to share. I mean, just really silly. Okay. The first one is forecasters call for weather on Monday.
Oh,
they call
we joke about newscasters all the time, how that's like a job where you don't really have to be good at your job.
Right.
And so you can just say stuff like that. There will be weather on Monday.
But that's especially here in Florida. I know I keep bringing it up, but I never knew of a meteorologist that can continuously get paid for all the wrong information.
Oh, yeah.
It's constant.
Yeah, that is great. My stepbrother posted a picture the other day of like all of the different paths a hurricane could take. And it pretty much just covers every inch of the map, like the different paths. And he's like, so I'll take my job as a meteorologist now. But I thought that is so true.
It really is. And, because they base it on the radar from 2 or 3 days ahead of time, and anything can change. And it usually does, All right, here's another one. Cows lose their jobs as milk prices drop. It's just so silly. Okay. And this one's not so funny, but man accused of killing lawyer receives a new attorney.
Oh my God.
I was like, what the hell? This is one website that has so many of these. This one's really funny. State population to double by 2040, babies to blame.
Oh my God. Well, yes.
I mean, it's just, anyway, breathing oxygen linked to staying alive.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
That is a good one. Oh my God.
Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? Bridge closure date, Thursday or October. It's just stupid and silly.
Just find a different way for the whole month.
It's just okay. Most earthquake damage is caused by shaking.
Oh my God. It's like, it's like they don't even think about what they're doing.
Right? We kind of touched the subject on this last time about journalists and like, the grammatical issues. And I just think that when it comes to headlines, it's all like, what is that term? Shock value. It's all about shock value, right?
Yes.
And it's like, wait, what? Sometimes if I'm, like on Facebook or whatever, there might be like a headline to draw you in to read what it is that they're saying. And meanwhile, the entire article is completely opposite of the headline. Yes. It's like you said, clickbait.
It is. It's clickbait. It's to get you to click on that. Because I mean, I know how when I had my blog, that is how I got paid for advertisers on the blog, was amount of clicks. And so whether they stayed and read it for a long time or not, I was still getting those clicks. And so, you know, if you post like something shocking, more people are going to click on it. Doesn't mean they're reading it, but
right, exactly.
you get that click. So I have this one, and it really, you can't see it, so I'll have to explain it. It says Mississippi's literacy program shows improvement, but Mississippi is spelled wrong. And so, I mean, I don't know. And that's
how they spell it.
Missippi apostrophe S. So, I mean, they missed an entire section.
Like half the word.
Yeah, it's like half the word is gone. This one, federal agents raid gun shop and find weapons.
Oh my God, that was one of mine.
Oh.
That's hysterical.
Right, because it's just kind of made me pause and like, okay.
Did you have to read it twice to see if you read it the right way?
I did. And that's, you know, in some of these, like I did, I just would like read them twice. Like, did I read that correctly? Is that really what we want to go with?
Oh, so silly. But again, it interested you enough probably to want to read the article.
It did, because I was like, okay, what's going on with here? Like, this one, here's a Florida man, and everybody jokes about Florida man in the headlines, you know. So Florida man claims he only drank at stoplights and not while driving. That's his defense for his DUI. So,
you know what? I have to say, I think that some of the best headlines do come out of Florida.
They do. I mean, you can just find a whole list of Florida man websites.
Can I tell you, I know we spoke about TikTok. You have got to get onto TikTok. There is a woman that does, she's, I think, a music teacher. And every Friday she sings Florida Man Friday, you can't make this shit up.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely
and she talks, and I'm sorry, she sings about the week in review from what happened. And puts it to music. It is, you know what? I'll send you the link if I find it. But excuse me, it's just so funny because she does it in the same exact music background every week. So she has to kind of like figure out how to like make a song out of the news. And I sit there laughing, but saying, oh my God, but I live here. How sad is this?
You know, that's what I think too. I'm like, okay, but that's where I'm from. So,
right.
So
well, I
just laugh about it.
I'm not. I keep
laugh
saying
about it.
You have to. I mean, look, you have to find humor in almost everything nowadays. You just have to laugh at it and just move on. But oh my God, that's really funny though. The headline about the weapons. I saw that one, so I'm glad that you said it. But that's just. Some people might not even realize how funny that is. They might just read it and not even get it. You know, right. That's just okay.
Realize the irony there.
Yeah, right. Okay. A disturbing Twinkie that has so far defied science. Have you ever heard about this one?
No.
About the Twinkie? Okay. So it's kind of gross, but okay. There's this man, and this comes from NPR. His name is Colin Purrington. So apparently he purchased some Twinkies back in 2012. And do you remember, like, I think it must have been around 2012. Do you remember hearing that they were going to stop producing Twinkies?
Yes. And I remember that people were selling them on the internet for crazy amounts of money.
Right. Okay. So he purchased these Twinkies back in 2012, I guess, for sentimental reasons. And it was because he heard that, I think that it was that they were going bankrupt, Hostess brands or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So, he decided that he was going to save one Twinkie and see what happened to it. But I know that they had spoken about Twinkies like lasting 20, 30 years and they still tasted the same or something like that. But he thought
that disturbing.
Ugh, can you imagine?
No.
There was like in a movie, someone that had a Twinkie and he ate it and it was like 10 years old. I don't know. Oh. Anyway, apparently the shelf life is like 45 days. But, you know, this guy thought that these Twinkies apparently were immortal. So I think he waited a couple of years. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. He waited. Hold on. Let me see. In part because he waited like a little over a month. And he figured that it was going to taste exactly the same. And he took it out of the box, unwrapped it, He said it looked fine. He took a bite and he said it tasted like an old sock. Ugh.
Oh my God.
I know. I know. But there's a picture on this website that shows the old Twinkie, and it looks like, aside from it looking like mold, it looks like chocolate brown filling, like it rotted out. And he actually took a bite of that.
Oh, see, I wouldn't be able to.
Maybe he
I wouldn't
didn't
be
look
able to take that out.
But yeah, apparently it's mold. It was just,
that is disgusting.
I can't even imagine something like that. But I just thought that it was really funny that the guy actually decided to save a Twinkie and see what happened. But I don't know, maybe it was just a bad Twinkie, because I remember reading people would eat Twinkies that were 2-3 years old and they tasted fine. But I don't know, maybe there was some kind of fungus in that one.
Yeah, maybe that one was contaminated.
Yeah, but I was wrong. I'm sorry. It was 8 years old. 8 years old. So he got it in 2012 and opened it in 2020. But he sent it in. He sent it into a lab, and they said that the wrapping on the Twinkie was sucked inward, so that there was fungus that got in before the package was sealed.
Okay.
So it like consumed the Twinkie. All right. That was just a silly one. What's yours?
So I have one, and it's the world roots for a raccoon scaling a skyscraper. And so apparently this happened in Minneapolis, and there was a raccoon and he's going up the side of a skyscraper, and people were live streaming it on the internet.
Oh my God.
And I guess a lot of people got really invested in this raccoon. And they went and got traps and put it on the roof. That way when he made it there, they could safely trap him and relocate him. And so I had to look, and he did make it. He made it all the way to the top, and then they trapped him and released him somewhere. But I didn't hear about it when this happened, but apparently it was like trending worldwide. People were just rooting for this raccoon to make it and not fall off the side of this building.
What would compel a raccoon to go up a skyscraper? Was there like another family there? I mean, like, I just don't understand.
Don't know. That's what they couldn't figure out, why he was doing it. It was during the day. And so, but people got really, and they thought maybe he got confused, or
maybe he had rabies and it
don't
confused him.
I don't know. I did hear that they trapped him and relocated him. So I would assume he was healthy, but I don't know. I know that when we had a blizzard a few years ago in Oklahoma, and there was a raccoon in our backyard during the day, and they said that the weather can sometimes like confuse them, like they can't find food, and they get cold, or they get lost. And so, I just fed him a can of cat food, and then he was on his way. But it just, and then I thought about when the baby hippo was born at the Cincinnati Zoo.
Yeah.
Fiona.
I love Fiona.
Me too. And I got very obsessed with checking every day to see if
she
was born and if she was okay.
Yeah.
And so I was watching, like live streams of the zoo while I was teaching in my classroom, and the kids would come in every day, as they switch classes, they'd be like, "How's Fiona?" And so I was like, that raccoon was like those people's Fiona.
You know what? Didn't she just turn 2?
She did.
Oh my God.
It's my boyfriend made fun of me because I was so invested in this hippo, and then he started following the zoo as well on Instagram, and so now he's like, I see why you like. It's like a happy story in the midst of all of the craziness.
Do you remember? Did you hear about April the giraffe?
Yes.
Okay.
And people were just waiting to see when she had the baby.
That was me. Yes. And I got so obsessed with April because we were all waiting with bated breath for her to give birth. And she was supposed to give birth, I think, in May, and she wound up giving birth a couple of weeks later. And I was working at the time, and I had my computer on live stream, so I could keep going back and forth to see it. I understand where you're coming from with Fiona, but Fiona, she's not even full grown.
No, she's not.
Right?
No, she's not. And she was born premature.
I know.
So I just followed her, and I still follow her. But so I was thinking about that raccoon, and I was thinking, like, I think people cling to that, like, heartwarming story because it's a nice thing. And then when so much news is negative or bad or upsetting,
I think also it's hope. I
Yeah.
think all of us could use a little bit of hope right now, and or for the last few years.
Forever.
Right. But I think that there's like hope really just makes you kind of look forward to something and feel a little excited about something, and it's for the future, but Fiona, oh my God, I can't, the amount of food that they throw in her open mouth, like
I know.
whole foods like apples and broccoli, they just throw like a whole supermarket in her mouth. She
Yes.
devours.
I know, and we watch sometimes. My stepdaughter likes to watch nature documentaries, and she's like telling us like that's considered one of the most dangerous animals in the world
Yes.
is the hippo. And
Have you seen
after
them? Sorry.
they're fast, like
They're
for their
very
size,
fast.
they're fast, and so yeah, and I can see it like the way their jaws slam down on all that produce, and it just goes everywhere and squishes it. I can see why they would be dangerous.
Yeah. They had a video out recently that I saw on TikTok because yes, I am obsessed with it. And there was someone, I think in like some boat, like a small boat, and they were recording this hippo that was going faster than the boat in the water, swimming.
Yes.
I don't think I ever knew how fast hippos can swim until I saw that. It was really entertaining to watch, but you would not think that something that was so heavy would swim fast. I mean, I think of the whales and how big they are, and some of them don't swim very fast. I don't know. It was
Right.
just really odd seeing it, but kind of cool at the same time, All
Yeah,
right.
it makes you think twice about going in the like one of those rivers that's full of hippos.
I know they need signs all over the place. Beware of hippos, right?
Right.
All right. Well, I don't think that people would be going in there. Okay. So frozen excrement dropped from plane crashes through house roof.
Oh my God.
I think it's so
That seems like
funny.
something off of a movie.
Right.
Like you would see that made up on a movie.
Maybe you would not think. Okay, so apparently there was a Canadian woman, and she claimed that there was a frozen lump of excrement from a plane that was passing over her house, and it ripped through the roof of her mother's house. I can't believe, she said she was woken up by a crashing sound and saw. I don't mean to
Oh
laugh
my
because
God.
I'm sure it was
I'm
devastating.
sure it was right. I'm sure it was traumatizing for
Can
her.
you
But
imagine? But she woke up to this crashing sound and saw a huge hole in the ceiling in the hallway. And she said it was about 15 feet from where she was sleeping. She was staying with her mom overnight. And she said that she found drywall and I guess all the insulation and everything was in a big puddle of water. And apparently it was all blue from, that blue,
that
disgusting,
died, yeah.
that
That
dye, or what is that
Yeah.
stuff
I don't know
anyway?
what it is. It's in porta potties and RVs and
I wonder if it's like a bacteria, like an antibacterial
I don't
thing.
maybe
Can you
to like
imagine?
neutralize it.
Um, it's possible, but I know that it's got to be toxic. But
It has to
she
be.
went on to say that the insurance appraiser that came by said that it's the strangest thing that they've ever seen,
Oh, I can
and
imagine. I
that the
can't even imagine
apparent,
getting
yeah, can you
that
imagine
call
being?
into the insurance agency.
Can you imagine? But apparently there was no rotting wood. There was nothing wrong with the roof at all. The roof was solid.
So it's just that I guess falling from that height, it's just that fast and that
Right, but
hard of a fall.
I was under the impression that this stuff was kind of like held in some kind of a tank in the plane, and then when the plane landed it was taken out. But
That's what I would think.
right, but I remember a while back, and you should look this up because it's true. Dave Matthews, the singer, right?
Yes.
Apparently he's got this private plane, and a few years ago they were dumping excrement, and they're supposed to be doing it over the ocean, which is yay for our oceans. But apparently it wound up, I don't remember where exactly, not through someone's roof, but like in a
Oh
residential
my
area.
God.
And he was sued because of it.
So I was under
I
the same impression as you, because like we used to have a living quarters horse trailer, and of course that's like it's like a little RV with the horses in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to stop at places that serviced RVs to get the tank pumped out.
Mm.
And so I thought that they did the same thing with planes. You know, I mean, we couldn't just be driving down the highway and just, you know, here we go, just dump that tank out from the bathroom. So I thought that planes did the same thing. Like, you know, like when they landed, they refueled it and
exactly. And
that.
I don't remember. I just know that I actually was just looking it up, and it might be a myth, or maybe it really did happen with Dave Matthews, and they were doing an illegal dump, because the article here says waste whizzes through the plumbing of the plane to the rear of the plane, where it's stored in sealed tanks well away from passengers until the plane touches down. And when the aircraft lands, a honey truck siphons out the waste and disposes of it into the airport's underground sewage system.
Okay, so we were correct. That is what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, but
so if anybody's doing that, it's illegal.
That's what I'm thinking. And I'm reading something else here that says sometimes it's not done intentionally, where they dump it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But that's really, it's really disgusting.
It is.
Think that you've got thousands of miles above your head excrement that might just fall on your head at any time.
So now every time that a plane is flying over me, I know, right? I'm going to think of that.
It's really funny because I think I remember reading this article shortly after I moved here to Florida. And for some reason where I live, within like the first few years, we seem to be in a certain path that planes took when they took off at Palm Beach International. And it was really annoying because it was one plane after the next, after the next, after the next. And I was a little concerned because I didn't know when we moved here that we were going to be in some path. And I just remember it just stopped. Maybe people complained. Maybe the village of Wellington complained. I don't know, but it stopped. But I remember thinking at the time, because I was outside often because my son was so young and he wanted to be with his friends playing. I remember thinking about that, like, oh my God, what if it like dumps shit
right? Yeah,
on my head?
What if I'm just out here? Well, with the damage to the house, I would think it would probably kill you.
Oh, can you? Oh, okay. You know, just the thought of it is grossing me out.
Yeah, that's pretty.
But you know what? Apparently it happens illegally.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to watch out for that now.
You know what? I bet that the next time you're by there's a plane close to you, you're gonna look up and think of this podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna be like, I really hope that this is not how I die.
Oh my God. Can you imagine though if those two women in the house were 15 feet closer? I mean, they could have. Oh my God.
Yeah, with that much, I mean, if it can rip through a roof, I can imagine the damage it would do to a human body.
Imagine the eulogy.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm thinking. Like, that's embarrassing. That's an embarrassing way to go.
May I ask, how did she pass? Oh, she got killed by shit.
Yeah, it was a giant block of frozen shit. It just hit her. It's not good.
Oh my God. Maybe that's why obituaries don't say how they passed away. You know?
Right, because if it's something embarrassing, they just want to leave that out.
Oh my God.
It seems, but again, that seems like something that would be on a movie, like something fictional, where you just.
That's what's so scary about it, that it can actually happen.
Right?
Oh my God. All right, you're up.
Okay, this one, and it's kind of funny too. Homicide victims rarely talk to the police. So, what gets me about that one is the rarely. Like,
oh my God, that's too funny.
So at least you know if you kill someone, they're not going to be the ones to rat you out to the police.
Well, I guess that's the silver lining right there.
I guess, yeah. I read that and I
That
was
was
like,
great.
what? Rarely? You had to put the word rarely in there.
Oh my God. But they needed it for that shock factor.
I guess so.
We can't even talk about that. The headline just basically says it all.
It just says it all. Yeah. And there are several of them that I see that they just say it all. Murderer says detective ruined his reputation. I just,
Oh God.
why?
Oh God.
Some of the articles, I wonder why are they even printing this? Why?
For this podcast.
Yeah, for this podcast. Yeah, I guess so.
So we can have a good chuckle.
Oh my God. Yes.
God. All right. This one is kind of funny, but not. The story again is funnier. English teacher, is that a right word? Funnier? More funny?
Funnier? Yeah, more funny. Yeah, I think it works either way.
Okay. Whale tail sculpture catches Dutch metro train. You have got to look this up. You have got to see this. It's an actual train that went off the rails and was stopped by this whale tail sculpture, and it's on the tail. And had that tail not been there, this train would have fallen. It apparently, it says here that the front carriage rammed through the end of an elevated section of rails, so it was caught by by a sculpture of this whale's tail, and this was in a Dutch city of Rotterdam, and you have to see it to believe it. It's really it actually it's I don't even know how many passengers that were in there. Oh, okay. It just says that there were no passengers, and the driver was not injured, and it crashed through barriers at the end of the station, and it wound up on this sculpture, and the sculpture is huge. I've never seen anything like this before, but
I'm reading it. It said he would have crashed 30 feet to the ground.
30 feet. Yeah. You see the picture of it now?
I see the picture. It almost looks fake.
It does look fake.
But that is pretty incredible. That's just like a...
Can you imagine? I mean, thank God there was nobody on the train. And I mean, the driver probably would not have made it because he's like up front. But to see something like that is crazy. I mean, it's just the story again, I think is just a little more like what than the headline itself. But I thought that was pretty good. All right.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Do you have anything else?
I don't. I just when I looked up that one, another one came up. The World Bank says the poor need more money. So, yep. I feel like that's one of those things where, like, if you have really bad anxiety and somebody looks at you and they're like, well, just don't worry about it. And you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that?
I think that you're on the same website as I am. I have ones. I saw that one. And then it says, wait, hold on. Let me go down to this one. Best man left bleeding after being hit in head by flying dildo.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can't make this shit up.
No, you can't.
Oh my God. Let's see what else we have. One-armed man applauds the kindness of strangers.
Oh, do they even know what they did there?
I mean, good God, people, really? How did you not? Again, I really often wonder if the journalists are doing this for shock factor or, like you said, clickbait. Well, this is an actual paper article, unless they have digital as well, but maybe just to get you to buy the newspaper or to read it,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there are so many websites that have hilarious, funny headlines. But this one website, which I think you have the same one, it's like in Google somewhere. Let's see. Greenland meteorite may be from space.
Maybe from space.
It may be from a meteorite.
Maybe from space. Or who knows? Who knows where it could be?
It's so funny.
It is funny. I mean, there's some of these, and some of them like. There's one, and it's in a food section, and I don't think that they intended on doing this, but they're talking about grapefruit, and they tried to be clever and use a slice of the grapefruit to make the G, but it doesn't really look like a G, and so it just looks like it says grapefruit. and then it goes on to talk about this fruit that you need in your life and how healthy it is. And I don't, I think they thought they were being clever, but maybe they just didn't look at the
Oh
mock-up
my
closely
God.
enough.
You know what?
Because
It's
it
not
just,
until people say things and make up memes about it that they're like, okay, I didn't realize that I messed this one
yeah,
up.
I probably shouldn't have done that.
I have this one. Hospitals resort to hiring doctors.
Oh, as a last resort to help
Wow.
people.
I mean, okay, you ready? Was bank robber a he or she? Breasts might be a clue.
Oh my God.
Again.
Oh my God.
Okay, this is another one.
Um,
Psychics predict world didn't end yesterday.
well, I could be a psychic
I
then, I
mean, we might
guess.
as well.
Um, this one says woman missing since she got lost.
You know what? I think that this would be our next job. Just coming up with really fun headlines because I just can't believe people are getting away with this.
Oh, right. Like they just they it's like they just come up with it and then never revisit it to think like if it makes sense or anything.
I don't know. I don't know, but I think that, like I said, I think a lot of this is shock value.
I think so too.
Let's see, we have postman's speed fine got lost in the post. Get it?
Oh.
That's just dumb.
Some
Dead,
of them are.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Dead pet should not be stored with food. What the hell? What?
See, and that's one of those things, like that's going back to the like, don't drive the car if you're blind. Like, did somebody do this and now this is why they have to say this?
I honestly just don't know. I really don't know. Okay, this one's cute. This is I saw this a while ago. It's just what do you call it? It was in the classified. Roddy, Mr. Giggles. Good with children, well mannered, championship bloodlines, house leash trained, great companion, and performs lots of tricks. Wait a minute. No, forget that one because it doesn't say what it's about. There was one that was like that that was so funny because it was a description that sounded like a dog, but then at the end it was really a man. So like, like
Oh.
looking for love, and it was a description you would think of a dog, and it turned out to be for a man, but it was all intentional. Anyway, that one was dumb. I thought that it was going to be
I've,
more clever, but
I've seen I've seen some of those that were cute. So one of the things I and I think it's terrible, but I also think it's funny. The people that call 911 for like really crazy reasons. So I found this one that says Florida woman, again from Florida, calls 911 after McDonald's runs out of McNuggets.
oh, come on.
Yes, and you know what though? I saw so many of those, like people calling 911 for things like that.
Yeah, what's going on? Everybody's all like up in arms, and they get so offended. Everyone's become so sensitive and over the stupidest things like this. I'm going to contact the police. Da, 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 da. And
Yes.
everyone is just getting has been, well, for reasons lately, they've been all angry and ready to just maybe call the police or do something more serious. And it's like, it was never like this. People just kind of agreed to disagree. Well, there was still some people, that just couldn't deal
Well,
with
yeah.
life and would
But for
do.
the most part, like our neighbors were playing music very loud one night, and it was before we didn't have air conditioning, and so it was summer, and so we had everything open that we could possibly have open, and we just kind of went over there and said, "Hey, like your music is so loud, we can't hear our TV that we're sitting
Mm.
next to over it, but we have to have all of our windows and doors open right now because we don't have air conditioning." And the neighbor was said, "We're so sorry," and they turned the music down.
You see?
And they thanked us for not calling the cops, and we were just like, why would we call the cops?
Well, most
What?
people would actually get defensive and pissed off. I would not. I would actually say that I was sorry. And because whenever I have a party and I have music, I really do think about the neighbors and I feel bad,
Me
and
too.
I
I,
will,
I always do.
but
I know. they were so, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say it's nice for you or the person to at least come over and say, hey, we're having a party. But if they don't, at least be respectful of your other neighbors. And if they come over like you did, just be kind, especially that you were very nice about it.
And we told them, we said if we could have the windows and the doors all closed up and our air on, it would not have bothered us at all.
Right.
But because everything had to be open, and we live kind of out in the country. And so there's not a lot of ambient, noise to block things out. And so you can hear it. And they were so nice. They said, hey, if it's too hot over there, or you just need to come in the air conditioning for a while, come over here. You can come in, have a drink, hang out.
Aww.
Then, it was just so nice, and
it's nice to know that there's people like that in this world. And I think there's a lot more than what the media is showing. There was this photo of a man holding a Trump flag and the other man was holding a Biden flag, and it shows them shaking their hands. And the caption was something like, there still are decent people in this world, or this is what makes America great again. Just the coming together. I have this one here. Ball-a-palooza. 5,000 golf balls will be dropped from a helicopter for a chance to win great prizes. All proceeds going directly to the brain injury program.
Oh my God. Oh my, I don't.
Again, I mean, it's there in black and white. It says it. I am not making this up.
Like, I don't know what to say to that one. Just
nothing.
Good luck. Good luck.
Oh my God. Well, this was a lot of fun. Did you have a good time?
I did. I did. I really like reading some of these, and I didn't read all of the stories, obviously.
It doesn't matter. I mean, some of the headlines are better than the stories and vice versa. But it's just, it's like we were saying, I really do think that there's a lot of, especially now, you've got news stations, cable news, they're all, trying to be quicker and better than the next one. And they want to be number one with the news, number one. And do you remember, let's see, I don't want to get this wrong, so I shouldn't say it, but there was something that happened. Maybe it was with Trump in the election. Anyway, CNN or one particular news station had stated that Trump had won. And this was before Trump had won. He did win, but this was before he had won.
Okay.
And he had to get back on the news station and apologize because they wanted to be the first with the news.
And so they didn't verify.
They did not verify. So it's like everybody is in such a rush to be number one that they have to have some kind of shock value or something to entice the reader to, like their news station or like their Facebook page. So they do say some things for, like you said, clickbait. But I think it's really funny, some of these things that we went over. But honestly, we had a pretty good laugh, I have to say. That's what it was all for. So, screw it. We had a good laugh. So, Rhonda, why don't you tell everybody how they can see you on social media and talk about your podcast?
So my podcast, everything on social media for me is just pretty much at the Rhonda Marie. I have a link tree in my Instagram, which is at the Rhonda Marie, and that just kind of takes you to everywhere. My blog, my podcast,
and what's
pretty much any
tell everyone
place that you could find me on the internet.
And tell everyone the name of your podcast.
It's An Accidentally Beautiful Life.
Love the title of that podcast, guys. Love it. I told Rhonda when I was first talking to her that I thought that it was such a funny title. How did you think of that one?
It is just because, I in my younger years, I never had much of a plan of like what I wanted life to be like or how I wanted to get there. And I just kind of ended up there flying by the seat of my pants. And so I figured out like it was an accident. Not that I recommend that people just go through life with no plan, but it worked out for me. So
I love it. It's very unique and you guys should check it out. And I'm Julie Schrager, nothing but Julie. And you can find me Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and podcast is anywhere you hear podcasts, and feel free to subscribe and like the podcast. And until next Thursday, hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. Bye, Rhonda.